Welcome back to TF2 Tactical Knowledge. In the last video, we covered the basics of what it takes to be a medic at the competitive level. In this guide, we'll talk about how the healing effects of the medic's metagun can make a team continue a push even if they themselves would rather retreat. In part 2 of this guide, we'll cover in depth about how to prioritize a metagun's healing abilities, and in part 3, we'll discuss the situations that require an uber charge. As with previous statements, this video assumes you've watched the basic video guide. Now, with all that said, let's get to it. It's tactics time. In our last guide, we covered the basics of what the medic needs to know in order to play at a competitive level of TF2. In this guide, we upgrade our intel level to discussing the medic's main weapon, his metagun. The metagun is capable of healing players at a constant rate of 24 health per second, if the healing target has been injured within the last 10 seconds, and up to a maximum of 72 health per second if the target has not been injured within 15 seconds. What this means is that even if a player is under fire, that player can be healed at a slightly lower rate compared to the damage they are receiving. But this also means that a player can focus less with dodging incoming fire, and will focus more on aiming their own shots. During a firefight, players will most often be trying to avoid incoming fire, because in most situations, players don't have the luxury of refilling their health safely while in combat. In fact, during a fight, unless one knows they can survive a hit while getting the health, most players will avoid health kits during a fight, because they become easily predictable in such situations and thus easily killable. This is where the medic and his metagun come into play. During a fight, a player takes on the tasks of watching their health and how much damage they are dealing, while at the same time watching their opponent and their health and how much damage they are dealing. If at some point one player is taking too much damage, he will most often attempt to retreat, as they will more often try to stay alive unless they are on a suicide mission. However, when the medic is brought into the picture, he can take on the task of watching his target's health, while his healing target concerns himself with his opponent. The medic only has to watch for incoming fire, as he is vulnerable while healing a patient and cannot protect himself. That, of course, only scratches the surface of what the metagun does, as subconsciously every player, no matter their skill level, retains certain basic instincts. These instincts tell them when it is time to retreat or when it is safe to push. But the metagun changes how players use these instincts, because it allows players in the middle of a fight to remain in the fight, as they can heal during said fight. Therefore, it is important to know that when using your metagun, to follow certain rules when using it at first. However, as you gain more experience and knowledge about how players play their classes, you can rely less and less on these guidelines. Until then, follow these guidelines. First, make sure you heal your target until their health is near full or at max overheal. Players typically expect to be healed fully by their medic, it's a basic instinct. So when they are healed, they will push forward expecting to be healed even more. While doing this, others who are injured will either fall back for more health, or upon seeing you will stick close to you and wait their turn, knowing you will heal them as well. Note that this is also a good way to stay safe, as there is often safety in numbers. Second, while healing, make sure to do it in large chunks. Don't just heal someone for a small brief period and then leave them, especially if their health is at critical levels. Unless you have a patient who is bleeding, burning, or on the verge of death, keep healing the same person until Guideline 1 is followed. This also builds trust between the medic and his team, as this inspires your teammates to protect you and keep you safe. Thirdly, while healing, make sure to keep an eye on everyone's health and give heals where they are needed most. Just because someone is a certain class does not mean you focus heals on them. What this means is that you should be healing those in combat over those who aren't expected to be in combat. Unless the situation is very specific, focusing healing on a sniper as he's scoped in while a soldier is taking a rocket and bullet spam is not the way to use your metagun's healing capabilities. Now, that concludes how to use the metagun's healing abilities to inspire your team. We'll see you next time in part 2 of this guide. Until then, stay tuned, fellow tacticians.